Have you ever seen Medusa as an offlane tanky tower pusher? Hi, I'm Lini, and while Medusa is still known to be a pos 1 late game carry, the latest ESL Raleigh tournament has shown Medusa in a unique role, pos 3 offlaner. And instead of trying to right click enemies down after farming for 30 minutes, she's becoming this crazy tanky enemy that can't be killed while tearing down towers with Meteor Hammer. Let's break it down. So in the recent ESL tournament, there were a lot of games where Medusa would be drafted as a pos 1 carry or a pos 1-3 offlaner. And what's unique about the offlane version of the hero is that she would forgo the value of her late game attack damage and focus instead on her tankiness with the innate ability Mana Shield, and rely on her disruptive abilities and items like Gorgon's Grasp and Gleipnir to root enemies for the early to mid game plays. In 7.38, there's a unique synergy going on that has made the offlane version of the build much more viable. In 7.38, the developers changed Medusa's level 10 talent to increase Gorgon's Grasp radius, but also in 7.38, Gleipnir now also increases the AoE of your spells. What's more is that if you manage to capture an enemy within the radius of 2 Grasp rings, the damage is doubled. So now as Medusa, it is vastly easier to chain root your enemies by initiating with Gleipnir to then cast a guaranteed Gorgon's Grasp that hits them with double the damage, followed by your Meteor Hammer, which also has a larger AoE, thus you have a larger range to cast it. This early game chain of blockdowns as well as damage combo is what makes Medusa so viable as an offlaner. Items like Meteor Hammer both provide her with pushing and farming power while also contributing to her ability to absorb damage and create an early game offensiveness with your strong nuking damage of Mystic Snake to remove map control from the enemy and cement your team with a lead early in the match. With the key items I mentioned, you see a synergy of how these items both create a lot of control in the early team fights for Medusa, but also build up her tank ability through her innate ability Mana Shield with the intelligence attributes those items apply. Even from the laning stage, Medusa can be hard to punish out of the lane with just 2 null talismans, which you can easily secure through last hits and Mystic Snake. Medusa lanes with a whopping 850 health and Mana Shield that grows with each level. While also relying on the snake to retrieve mana back, she becomes difficult to harass and stop without a full commitment from the enemy lane. Players tend to overlook Medusa as a pos 3 because we view Mystic Snake as a defensive ability to keep our Mana Shield healthy and maybe to push back on aggressive offlaners while securing creep kills. With that combo I mentioned, your skill build should be fairly straightforward towards the mid game. We max out the Snake, then the Grasp. Mystic Snake makes your lanings go smoothly and your most efficient way of farming since you can quickly wipe creep waves with it. By the time you get to Gleipnir, Gorgon's Grasp should be maxed out to make the combo well timed when you start playing out of the lane. Now all that said, one of the key issues for Medusa is that she is one of the slowest heroes in the game, and in 7.38 the developers released her a new facet called Undulation, which makes her unslowable and permanently sets her movement speed to 310 more when she pops her ultimate, and that's about the speed of Ursa or Drow Ranger without having to buy a pair of boots. This facet is not only Medusa's offlane weapon of choice, but allows you to buy her first item much earlier, Meteor Hammer. For Meteor Hammer allows Medusa to take towers early, farm creep camps efficiently, and is the end piece to your Gleipnir Gorgon's Grasp double root combo. The stats are also what makes Meteor Hammer extremely appealing for her. Meteor Hammer provides a whopping 24 intelligence and amplifies your spell damage as well as your mana regeneration. Pretty good for a hero who uses her mana as a shield. With Meteor Hammer and Gleipnir secured, her late game items are fairly straightforward actually. Ag Shard to keep her mana pool afloat and punish enemies who target her, as well as Sight the Vice for even further crowd control and additional intelligence for her Mana Shield innate ability. Items like Conda or Ethereal Blade are also valid in either protecting herself from magic damage or as a way to further punish enemies. Sange and Kayak can also be valid as the mana loss reduction feature of that item means that Medusa loses significantly less mana to her Mana Shield, making it massively more efficient. And if the game goes long, you can always opt for Plasma, Radiance, or Mjolnir to help deal damage as Medusa and take advantage of her staying power in a fight. So it is definitely interesting to see why this style of Medusa was deemed valid enough to be played at the pro level. Similar to Faces Void of Chronosphere versus Faces Void offlane with Time Zone, Medusa as a late game damage dealer versus this offlane Medusa is all about early game momentum and lockdown to secure your team lead in kills and net worth to then capitalize on that to take towers and high ground quickly thanks to Meteor Hammer. With all that said, this hero is easily countered by anyone who opts to buy Diffusal Blade or heroes that naturally can sap your mana pool and thus your health. So heroes like Lion, Anti-Mage Ursa with Refusal Blade, or Nyx Assassin with the Mana Burn Facet, so be wary that there is a way to stop you, give enough time and focus from enemies. Lastly, if you're at an MMR where it's hard to get your team to play around you, you're going to have the bad time, as Offlane Medusa needs to be where fights are going to happen and not spend our time coming into a fight that's already occurring.